Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another special installment of the Deep-3 here with Scott Reichel. As I said yesterday, Scott Steen is away on his son's graduation, so congratulations to them two once again. Brief explanation for what happened yesterday. There was a slight misunderstanding between the two of us, as I originally thought I was going to be providing a video on Friday as well as Saturday. Turns out Scott ended up uploading his video after mine a couple hours, so if that was a little bit confusing and there was a lot of stuff that was covered in both videos and it seemed a little bit repetitive, that was a pure accident. There was just a miscommunication. But that will not be happening for the next couple of days, as I ended up making sure with Scott Steen that I am actually going to be covering for his show and that he will not be uploading his own video. So with that being said, we'll quickly recap what happened yesterday on the Deep-3. We ended up going 2-1. The one loss came on the Sharks' money line at roughly plus 128 or so. Still good value there. It ended up being 2-1, and they outshot the Blues by about 10. But Bennington played really well, and the Blues finally scored another power play goal. Whereas the other games that we ended up winning, we won the Dodgers' money line at minus 130. They ended up winning 6-0. And we ended up winning the A's minus 1.5 at plus 104, as the Tigers continue to struggle, and the A's ended up winning very easily by multiple runs again. So if you ended up betting all three plays separately, you ended up making roughly 0.81 units, which is a solid day, but we are not going to get complacent. And with that being said, we are going to dive right in to the three plays here on the Deep-3 for Saturday, May 18th. First play, we're actually going to be sticking with one of the matchups from yesterday, and we are going to be taking the Los Angeles Dodgers minus 1.5 on the run line at plus 105 on Heritage. I'll quickly go into the pitching matchup and some of the stats and some of the trends. The Dodgers will be using Walker Buehler, who is probably one of the best kept secrets in baseball, and he will be an absolute stud on the mound for upcoming years, and he probably will end up taking over for Kershaw as the main ace of the franchise in the immediate future. He's 4-0 with a 4.15 ERA, coming off a great start against the Nationals, in which he went 7 innings, gave up no runs. Meanwhile, the Reds will be using Tyler Mahle, who is 0-5 with a 3.97 ERA. ERA is not bad, but the Reds have not given him any run support, and he's 0-5 for a reason. Cincinnati has the 4th lowest on-base percentage versus righties in the entire league, whereas the Dodgers have absolutely annihilated righties this season, and they have the 6th highest on-base percentage versus righties this season. Dodgers are also 5-0 in their last 5 games versus the NL Central. They're also 22-8 in their last 30 meetings against the Reds. They're also 35-16 in their last 51 games after allowing 2 runs or less in the previous game. Meanwhile, the Reds are 3-13 in Mahle's last 16 starts, and the Reds are 0-5 in Mahle's last 5 starts versus a team with a winning record. Overall, Dodgers are definitely the better team. As I said before, I don't want to repeat myself from yesterday, but the Dodgers are going to be the favorites to represent the National League in the World Series. They're coming to this game winning 6-0. They've dominated the Reds in the last couple of seasons, and the Dodgers offense is clicking as they ended up scoring 6 runs and gave up 0, as the Reds were somehow mystified by Rich Hill, who pitches like he's roughly 40 years old. Either or, for me, I definitely think that the Dodgers minus 1.5 should not be at a plus price. It should be at roughly minus 105, but plus 105 on Heritage has a lot of value there, and the Dodgers are on the road, so you are guaranteed those 9 at-bats throughout the entire game. So I would personally lean to the Dodgers minus 1.5 at plus 105 on Heritage. But a quick reminder, these 3 plays are not in any specific order. I like all the plays equally. That was just the first play that I came across on the board. That spoke to me, so to speak. So it's not my favorite play on the board. I like all 3 of them equally. But we'll move on to the second play. We're going with another underdog here, or another bet at plus value. We like the Cubs money line at plus 133 on Pinnacle. The Cubs will be using John Lester, 3-1 with a very impressive 1.16 ERA, while the Nationals will be using Steven Strasburg, who's 3-3 with a 3.63 ERA. Chicago has the 2nd highest on-base percentage versus righties in the entire league, and the team just scored 14 runs yesterday, so Chicago's offense is definitely clicking on all cylinders behind Baez and Contreras and Schwarber, and Bryan as well. That whole lineup is clicking. Meanwhile, the Nationals have hit lefties well this season, but Lester has had good historical numbers against the Cubs, where Strasburg's numbers have definitely been a little bit more spotty against the Cubs in previous starts. The Nationals also have the worst bullpen ERA in all of baseball at a whopping 6.82. So even if Strasburg pitches well for roughly 6 innings, the Nationals bullpen's been known to blow a lot of games. Cubs have been climbing back since a terrible start to compete in the NL Central. And the Nationals are still below 500 a lot, and a large part of that is due to the bullpen. So for me, I would personally lean to the Cubs money line at plus 133 on Pinnacle. When I look at the pitching matchup and these two teams, the Cubs definitely should be roughly a plus 115, plus 120 underdog, and plus 133 doesn't make any sense to me. So I personally think there is value there, and I would lean to the Cubs at plus 133 on the money line. But I'll also go into some trends. The Cubs are 4-0 in their last 4 road games versus a team with a losing home record. The Cubs are also 8-1 in their last 9 when their opponent allows 5 or more runs in the previous game. Meanwhile, the Nationals are 3-9 in their last 12 games versus left-handed starters. So they have not done well against lefties recently. And the Nationals are 1-7 in their last 8 after scoring 5 runs or more in the previous game. So with that all being said, I definitely think that there is value on Lester here, and I would lean to the Cubs money line at plus 133 on Pinnacle as the second pick in the Deep 3. Moving on, we'll stick to baseball, and we will actually be talking about the New York Mets as they take on the Miami Marlins. Marlins ended up destroying DeGrom yesterday, kind of shockingly, as they ended up winning 8-6, as their bullpen tried to blow the game late, but held on for a close victory. Mets are currently a minus 123 favorite on Bet Online. The lines are scattered, but that's the best line available at roughly 5:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so that's the line I will be using. New York will be using Steven Matz, 3-2 with a 3.86 ERA. Meanwhile, Miami will be using Pablo Lopez, who is 2-5 with a 5.93 ERA. Mets have the 10th highest on-base percentage versus lefties in the league, whereas Miami has the second lowest on-base percentage versus righties in the league. So, needless to say, I expect the Mets to dominate here. I think the lineup, despite the fact that DeGrom did not pitch well, the Mets still scored 6 runs. Their offense has looked a lot better than it has done in recent years. Alonso went yard. Overall, the Mets lineup has a lot of talent, and if Mets can go 5 or 6 strong, they should win this game easily. And I think that there is also value on the run line here, as they are also a road team getting 9 at bats. But I do think the money line's a safer play, especially with the fact that both bullpens are in the bottom half of the league. But another reason why I like this is because of the fact that both of these pitchers have actually faced the opposing lineups earlier this season. And Lopez's last start, actually, he went 3 innings and gave up 10 runs against the Mets. So he's now has a chance at revenge against the same team that absolutely demolished him and that he gave up 10 runs to in the 3rd inning, in 3 innings, I should say. So even if Lopez does pitch slightly better in this game, the Mets have dominated him, and I expect the Mets to continue to hit him hard in this game, regardless of what stadium it is. And I think the Mets should score at least 5 runs in this game. Meanwhile, Matz did pitch against the Marlins earlier this season, as he went 5+ innings and only allowed 1 earned run. So I think the Mets should be a bigger favorite than minus 123. I think they should be somewhere in the minus 135 range, and I think they should be around minus 140, give or take. So I definitely think there is value here at minus 123 on Bet Online with the Mets money line against the Marlins. So a quick recap, the 3 plays will be on the Dodgers minus 1.5, which is at plus 105 on Heritage, the Cubs money line, which is at plus 133 on Pinnacle, and the Mets money line, which is available at minus 123 on Bet Online. But before we conclude this video, a quick reminder about our sponsor, which is PointsBet, a sports book that's online that is based in New Jersey. A lot of great promos, a lot of great deals, and I'll share some of them with you again. They have 2 risk-free bets of up to $1,000. So if you end up betting $1,000 on, hypothetically, let's just say the Trailblazers in Game 3, and they lose, you normally would be out $800, but instead you keep your money. But if the Trailblazers win, you keep your $800, and you also win the bet. So you get up to 2 of those risk-free, so you get your money back guaranteed. And that's for new accounts as far as I know. So if you are new to PointsBet, if you're in New Jersey and you do not have an online sportsbook and are looking for one, I recommend PointsBet for that promo alone. But they also have some other ones that I'll get into. The NBA playoffs, if you place a money line bet and your team is winning after 3 quarters, you win. So if your team blows a 15-point lead in the 4th quarter, that is not your problem because you get to cash the money because they were up after 3 quarters. Moving on, you also have an NHL playoff deal in which the team that you bet on, if they are up by 2 goals at any point, you win. If they score 2 goals in the first minute of the game, you win. So you don't have to bother watching the rest of the hockey game or worry about some backdoor cover or some comeback that leads to an overtime loss or a hand pass in overtime with the Blues. You don't have to worry about that. As long as your team is up by 2 goals, you are guaranteed to make money. But with that being said, that's going to do it for this installment of the Deep 3 here with winnersandwhiners.com on Saturday, May 18th. We will be back at it again tomorrow. But until then, good luck to all of you and your respective bets. Bye, everyone.